Story 1. Yes. If only one of us could survive, I would want it to be her. Story 2. Yes, I would. I love him. He deserves a beautiful life, and I will do anything to ensure he has it. Story 3. Sure. I have been looking for a way out of my marriage, but I appreciate the concern. Everyone. Story 4. I am a 75-year-old man and a widower. Yes, I would have. Why? I loved her, and I made a commitment and vow to her when we married. We were not just two people who shacked up for convenience and sex. I was getting plenty of sex before I met her. I would not marry someone just for sex. We each pledged to hold the wants and needs, health and welfare, goals and dreams of our spouse as important, or more so, than our own. She was more important to me than my own life. Maybe that is old-fashioned and outdated thinking. So be it. I would not change it. I would die for one of my children. For 23 years, I served on active duty in the United States Navy and was willing to die in that service if necessary. I almost did on a couple of occasions. I believe in keeping my word and carrying out my obligations. There are things in this world I consider more important than myself. Story 5. No. Only because I have a child and he needs me. Were it not for that, yes, I think so. To avoid confusion, I should note that I am a single dad, but I am currently dating someone who is not my child's mother. Story 6. She stood at my hospital bedside while I fought for my life after my amputation. I would walk through the fires of hell to ensure no harm came to her. Story 7. I would die a painful death every day for her if I had to. The thought of her suffering hurts far more than anything anyone could ever do to me. Story 8. I'd die for them, or at least dramatically pretend to, for maximum attention. Story 9. He says he would fight and die for me. I say I would do the same, but I have mixed feelings. I hope he dies before me because I think I would survive. He would not get out of bed, pay the bills, cook for himself, or eat well, and he would not function as a healthy individual. It would be a total shutdown. Story 10. Yes, 100%. I would ask to see breasts before I did, though. Story 11. Questions like this get asked far too often. Would I die to save her? Yes. Would I kill to save her? Yes. But more important than whether I would die for her is whether I would stay alive for her. That means keeping yourself healthy and stable for your partner, making sensible, beneficial choices, improving yourself, staying safe, and being there tomorrow. Life is not a die-hard movie. Story 12. No. Change partner to child. And my answer is yes, 100%. I would die for my son. Story 13. Absolutely. My wife is my best friend and life teammate. If I die protecting her or by giving her an organ, it would be well worth it. Story 14. I go scorched earth for mine. I don't care if I survive as long as whoever hurt them dies. Story 15. Not after she pissed me off last night. Maybe I will reevaluate that answer later this afternoon. Story 16. No, I was like that, but then I realized I was a people pleaser and that no one really cares about you that much. You need to be selfish. Story 17. We have actually talked about this before. I would do so in a heartbeat, but my husband says I am not allowed to die before him regardless of the circumstances. Story 18. She and I had a hard conversation about this. I told her that if we ever find ourselves in danger, she should be the one to run while I stay and fight. I made her promise to run whenever possible. Story 19. I would die for her, yet part of me fears she might die even as I fight tooth and nail to prevent it. I do not want her to live without me. She has depression and anxiety. I work hard to keep her calm and relaxed and to keep a bright light in her life. If I were gone, I feel she would be disappointed in life and the anxiety of everything would crush her. She is very strong and could get through it, but imagining her going through it makes me very sad. I do not want to lose her. Seeing her struggle scares me even more. Story 20. No. I will not die for him. I don't feel my husband would do that for me. We have a traditional marriage, and I feel he would remarry soon after I died. Yes, I am from the Middle East and we are Arabs. It is hard to love an Arab man with all your heart. Even though he provided for us financially, I don't trust him. His opinions about women are harmful. He belittles women, and I feel he does not see me as an equal. I know it sounds ridiculous to say that about my husband, but I accepted that I have to tolerate him, his opinions, and the way he treats me sometimes just for the money and stability. To answer your question, I might feel a little relieved. I might inherit his money and live happily with my children without a man. Free to do whatever I want, go out without being asked why or told no, spend without asking permission, make my own decisions and go out with friends without hearing no. Just living. Story 21. Yes. Seeing him in pain hurts me more than anything else. I will do whatever I can to prevent that. As to why, I do not know. It is because I love him. Story 22. I have been with my wife for 37 years. She is the mother of my 3 children. I am curious whether any women would be willing to do this for their husbands. Story 23. It would be terrible, but I would not hesitate. Story 24. No. My wife would commit suicide if I died, so it would be a total waste. Story 25. No, but I hope he will die for me. We have a running bet on who will die first. I hope I win. Story 26. Yes, absolutely. I would not expect her to die for me, but to die protecting my children. Story 27. No. Before we had children, of course I would have. But now that we have children, absolutely not. They need me more. We have had this discussion and he agrees he would give his life for mine, but under no circumstances am I allowed to die. I am the primary parent to our children, the breadwinner, and, as he puts it, the glue that holds this circus together. Story 28. I'm sorry you're feeling this way. I cannot help with planning self-harm. If you are in immediate danger, call emergency services now, for example, 911 in the United States, or your local crisis number. In the United States, you can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you are not in the United States, tell me your country and I will help find local crisis resources. A safer version of that sentence for Azure text-to-speech. I am feeling overwhelmed and I need help. Please reach out to me. Are you safe right now? I can help contact someone or find professional support if you want. Story 29. No. I would have said yes before, but we have a small baby, and at least one of us has to survive to take care of her. He would answer the same way. Story 30. Yes. She saved me from a very dark place and I would do it in a heartbeat. Story 31. This is kind of a trolley problem. My ongoing fight with depression is probably why I'm saying this. Yes, without a doubt. If it meant that my dying would save his life or make him happy, I would do it. I tell him as often as I can. I admit I sometimes forget to remind him. He is my everything, and I would do anything for him if it guaranteed his peace and happiness. Story 32. No one truly knows until they are put in that situation. Most, including myself, would say yes. The real question is how many would change their lifestyle by improving their diet, exercising, and eliminating bad habits so they can live longer with their partner? Story 33. I have noticed that when people ask this question, men are more likely to say yes and women are more likely to say no. The only people for whom you should be willing to die are your children. Story 34. Yes, I don't mind. I've lived well and I'm still young, but somehow I wouldn't mind. She is a greater addition to this world than I am. Story 35. I have depression and do not push myself professionally. He, on the other hand, has a good head on his shoulders and loves his job. He will probably live longer than I will. Story 36. Yes, 100%. He would be the better provider for my children and would handle it better than I would. He would not be okay, but he would not want me to suffer from losing him. Story 37. I would not. I would live for him, though, and that means more to me than anything else. Would I die for my child in utero? Yes. Story 38. Yes. I vowed to protect her. I do not intend to break that vow if I can control it. Story 39. Yes. She is the mother of my children. I would do that for sure if that is what it took. Story 40. I would rather die in the worst ways than be alone in the world without him, knowing I could have changed it. I would die if she told me to. Story 41. I believe anyone who answers no to this will not respond. Story 42. To be honest, I am not dying for anyone, and I am sure I am not the only one. Story 43. No, I would not. We have 2 children, and I know I could cope better if he died than he could if I died. If we did not have children, I would have to rethink my answer. Story 44. I typed a long message explaining why I would not, but I am not going to go into that now. Since you asked, it made me reflect deeply, and I do not think I want to be with her anymore. Laughing out loud. Story 45. Yes, I would. If push comes to shove, I would want him safe and happy. Story 46. No, I have 2 younger siblings to take care of, and they are the only people I would die for. Story 47. Yes, I would. She is a light in the world, and I think the world benefits from her existence far more than it does from mine. Story 48. Anytime, anywhere. No matter the situation, I would be ready to sacrifice myself for him. Story 49. Hell no. He cannot even tell me the truth. I am not going to die for a liar. He once told me that if his mother, our hypothetical children, and I were in a burning house, he would save the children first, then his mother, and then me if I were still alive. So yes, he can just die. Laughing out loud. For my child, though, I would absolutely die for them. Story 50. I would not die for him, but I will likely die because of him. Story 51. I wouldn't want to, but if it came down to saving their life, yes. Love makes you put someone else above yourself. Story 52. Yes, I think I would become severely depressed if he died and I could have prevented it by dying in his place. Story 53. I would not die for my partner, but I would die with my partner. There is no life for me without us. Story 54. Die, kill, severely harm, do a little jig in a fairy costume. Story 55. No. I am a woman. A woman would die for her children, and a man would die for his wife and children. I am at peace with that hierarchy and expect it. Story 56. Absolutely. She is divorcing me, and I still love her enough that I would die for her without a second thought. Story 57. Given how miserable my life is right now, if I had a partner who treated me well, I probably would. Story 58. Depends on the method of death. Painful? No. Painless? Yes. Story 59. I do not have a girlfriend or a wife, but my choice would be predicated on whether I would die for her. It makes no sense otherwise. Story 60. Yes, because she saved me and deserves as much time on this planet as possible. Story 61. She has been through enough in life and does not deserve to lose something she has been fighting to keep. I have lived a full life, and if I died, at least it would be for a good reason. Story 62. It is hard to say. I feel like my body would automatically do it if put in that situation. I know I would not want to be around without my significant other. If I were given time to think and consider things, maybe not. Mostly because I do not want to make my parents face that, and I do not want his parents to go through it either. Since my brain cannot choose, I would probably end up dying for him. Story 63. My husband and I have discussed this because we have children. If only one of us can get out of a situation, I will stay with the children. If it is a choice between one of us and the children will be chosen every time. Story 64. I don't have a partner, but I would kill for my dog if he commanded it. Story 65. Yes, but if I'm being honest, I would die for pretty much anyone. Story 66. The only right way to go. I wouldn't, though. I'm single. Story 67. She is kinder and has more potential for good than I have. She would be better at caring for the children alone, so I would choose her. Story 68. It depends on the situation. I would like to think that if there were a shooter, I would jump on someone to cover them if that were the only option. If my wife and son were there, I would put their safety first, even if it meant losing my life. I have never been in that situation, so I cannot say for certain, but that is what I would want to do. Story 69. My place is between my family and harm, even if it will kill me. My wife is family. Yes. Story 70. If one of us has to die, I would volunteer so he can provide for our daughter. Story 71. If it were a choice between her and me, I would gladly choose myself. She already saved my life. Her life and happiness mean more than anything to me. Story 72. I would put myself in harm's way. Could lead to death, but I probably would not actively choose death, if that makes sense. I would jump in front of a car to push her out of the way, purely out of instinct to protect someone I love. I do not know that I would shoot myself to save her. That is a harder choice. For my son, I would do either. Story 73. Unequivocally yes, without thought or hesitation. I would even accept a drawn-out and painful death for her if it meant she would not have to suffer at all. After 20 years together, it would be impossible to express what she has done for me. Behind every success I have had, she has been there. After every failure, she has lifted me up. She cared for me when I was seriously injured. She has been the glue our family relies on for normalcy and stability. She is generally a better person than I am. I see what other people go through in their relationships, and I wonder every day how I manage to avoid that and end up in a solid, loving relationship that has lasted for so long and promises even more. I also would not want to disappoint the dog. My wife is her favorite. Story 74. Yes, it is better that I die than she does. She has an extended family and a wide circle of people. She goes to events with friends that I do not. Music concerts and movies are not enjoyable for me because I am hard of hearing. She would have a full and happy life if I died. If she died first, I would starve. Story 75. If I had the chance to give my lover a long, happy life, I would. Isn't that what you want for your partner, even if they cannot be with you? Story 76. Yes, for my wife, my dogs, my brother, and my mother. A disease and a brain tumor will take me if something else does not happen sooner. I'd prefer to know, when it happens, that my death was by my choosing and for an honorable reason. Story 77. It's complicated. All my instincts say yes, but her parents are already dead, so if I left her with more grief and trauma, she would probably wish she were the one who killed me. Story 78. If it meant she would be safe, then yes, without hesitation. Story 79. Since my partner is currently carrying our child, I would save them both in a heartbeat. Story 80. Definitely. He is a better person than I am in every way. He has a wonderful life ahead of him, and I would do anything for him. It would be a no-brainer for me. Story 81. Nope. I have kids, he doesn't. He was the first to say, if it's one of us, it's obviously me who goes. So if we have time to make a choice, I live. Story 82. Yes. She's everything I want to be in life. If only one of us were to go on, she deserves it more than I do. Story 83. It depends. I do not think my dying first would be the best way to protect our children. What if I die and the threat is still there? What if she is hanging halfway down a cliff, but our two children need me to return to safety? It would be a case-by-case decision. Story 84. Yes, absolutely. I would not want to live without him. He also spent 2 years nursing and supporting me as I recovered from quadriplegia. I will never be able to thank him properly for that. Story 85. Yes, but only if necessary. Nobody lives forever, and once you're gone, it's over. Living with the knowledge that you could have prevented your partner's death would stay with you for the rest of your life. I couldn't live with that. Story 86. I would take a lethal risk to save their life because attachment and responsibility kick in. You protect the person who matters and the future you built together. But dying for romance or theatrical martyrdom? No, that is not noble, it is wasteful. Story 87. I do not trust any of my former partners, even during the honeymoon phase. For my siblings and my parents, I would die to protect them. Story 88. I would die for the person I wanted as my partner, and he didn't even want to give us a chance. Story 89. In a heartbeat, I would do everything in my power to take the other guy with me. Story 90. She has a stepdaughter. I have known them for almost 7 years. She is 9 years old. If it is both of them, yes. If it is just my wife, I would have to really think about it. Story 91. I'm really sorry you're feeling so overwhelmed. That sounds painful and frightening. Are you thinking about hurting yourself, or do you have a plan right now? If you are in immediate danger, please call your local emergency number For example, 911 in the United States. Right now. If you are in the US, you can also call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you are outside the US, tell me your country and I can help find a local crisis number for you. If you can, please consider reaching out to someone you trust or a mental health professional right now. I can stay with you here and help find local resources, a crisis line, or ways to get urgent help. Would you like me to do that? Story 92. Well, not today. He yelled at me because I had the audacity to move his computer camera to clean it. If we were both walking in a desert and I had a large, sweaty jug of ice water, I would drink every drop and then lick my lips before considering his needs. If his organs fail in the next day or so, he is screwed. Story 93. Absolutely. I would not even have to think about it. She is the most precious thing in my existence. Story 94. Yes. He has fiercely protected me and taken care of me from day one. We have been together for 12 years and only recently changed our minds about marriage. We are getting married next spring, and he already lives by the in sickness and in health vow. I owe him everything. Story 95. Yes, the mother of our children. No one has loved me quite like she has. Story 96. No. I'm sorry. I do love the fellow, and he can have a limb or a kidney or anything, but I have a small child and she needs me. Story 97. Right now, no. I think my daughter would be unhappy without him but devastated without me. She loves us both but is crazy about me. I am her favorite person. If it were not for her, yes, I would die for my husband. Not just because I love him but also because he is his mother's only child. She already lost another child when they were both young, and I honestly cannot imagine her going through that again. Story 98. I would both die and kill for my partner, our daughter, our pets, and my sister. I trapped a bully who had a peanut allergy in a school bathroom stall, covering the walls and everything I could with peanut butter after my sister almost tried to kill herself because of her and the school would not do anything about it. I already threw myself in front of a car to keep my childhood pets from being run over by someone who tried to hit them intentionally. I ran over half a mile barefoot in my pajamas on gravel roads at 3 a.m. when I was 12 because I woke up to my mother panicking and saying my grandfather had fallen. I would do any of that for my partner, current pets, and daughter. I would not do any of that for myself. Story 99. Most likely, yes. I love him, and he has protected me and my family unselfishly. He is the love of my life. Story 100. Under what conditions? Would I take a bullet for her? Absolutely. Is this a Sophie's choice situation? I still would. She is far more of a net positive for the world than I am, and she is emotionally better able to continue on without me and find happiness. I would die alone, mostly as a hermit, only speaking to grocery store cashiers. Story 101. Yes, though for selfish reasons. I have always told my husband that he has to outlive me because I do not want to be the person left behind. Story 102. Everyone who starts a title with "be honest" should be banned from Reddit. Story 103. Yes, definitely, because the world can lose me but not him, and I could not live without him. Story 104. I would like to be with my partner, who passed away last month. Story 105. Yes, absolutely. He saved my life in more ways than he knows. He is the reason I regained my will to live after it was non-existent for 2 decades. I love him so much. Story 106. Yes, and for my daughter. There are far worse ways to die. Saving someone else's life means you'll be remembered as a hero as long as those people are alive. You'll be remembered as a good father or husband who was taken too soon, not as a broken old man in a nursing home. Story 107. I would have at the time. Now I would rather die than be in the same room. I am sorry you are feeling this way. If you are thinking about harming yourself, please seek help now. If you are in the United States, call or text 988 or call 911 if you are in immediate danger. If you are outside the United States, contact your local emergency services or suicide prevention helpline. Reach out to someone you trust or a mental health professional. Story 108. Yes, without question, without hesitation or a second thought. My wife is the kindest, sweetest, and most thoughtful person I have ever met. I do not deserve her at all. She is infinitely better than I can ever be. Story 109. Absolutely. He does everything for me. There is no way I could ever repay him for all his devotion. So this seems like the best option. I love him so much. Story 110. Yes, I already told them that when they go, I'm going with them. Story 111. Yes, she is a better mother than I am as a father. I can take care of the children. They would do well, but with her they would do even better. Story 112. Yes, because she is more selfless, caring, and compassionate. Overall a better person than I am, and the world deserves to be brighter with her in it. Story 113. I'd definitely do the hold me back act if there were someone to hold me. Honestly though, anything would have to go through me to get to her. Story 114. You have only one conscious experience. There are no more tokens after you are gone. You can find love again. Each love is different and beautiful in its own way. Story 115. For more than 30 years she has given me the best years I could imagine. Because of that, I want our daughter to have the most understanding, kind-hearted parent so she can thrive. I am a good person, but she inspires everyone to be better. Letting her legacy live on is the logical choice. Story 116. I can honestly say I would. Death doesn't really faze me as much as it seems to others, although the last thing I want is to die. The thought of either my situation or hers doesn't bear thinking about. Do you feel safe right now? If you are thinking about harming yourself, please call emergency services or your local crisis line immediately. In the United States, you can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you are not in the United States, please contact local emergency services or a local crisis line. I'm here to listen. Would you like to talk about what you're feeling or get help finding support? Story 117. More than a decade ago, my fiancée was in the final stages of cancer. I would have given everything to trade places with her to take away her pain and suffering. I would have sacrificed myself in an instant, just as I know she would have for me. We were one mind in two bodies. We taught each other many things, laughed and enjoyed life, pushed each other to be better, and showed each other kindness and patience without expectations. Story 118. Probably not. It depends on our age, circumstances, health, and so on. I would not expect her to die for me, so I could not be mad if she felt the same. It is not that I do not love her enough. I just do not feel sentiments like I could not live without her or she is the better person. It would be awful no matter which of us died first. I am not 100% certain. I might decide differently in different situations. If I had children, I would die for them. That is for sure. Story 119. Yes. Why? Because she is the most important thing to me, and something that matters to you is worth fighting for. Story 120. My partner asked if I would commit mass murder for him. The answer was no, but would I die for him? Yes. This conversation came up because of The Last of Us. He, on the other hand, said he would commit mass murder if it meant I would stay alive and he would die for me. I cannot say I agree. I appreciate the sentiment, but I do not actually. That is crazy to me. Story 121. If I had to choose between him and me, I would let him live and sacrifice myself. I have many psychological and physical problems that make my life difficult and limited, while he has the energy and mental health to enjoy life. I would rather let him live so he could live for both of us than lose him and be unable to honor the life he might have had. I am sorry you are feeling this way. If you are thinking about harming yourself or feel unsafe right now, please contact emergency services immediately or call your local suicide crisis line. In the United States, call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you are outside the United States, please contact your local emergency number or find local crisis resources. If you want, I can help you find hotlines or support in your area. Story 122. Yes. I do not want to exist in a world without him, ever. Story 123. Always. My children need her more than they need me. My love for her and for my children would compel me. Has that not always been the expectation? Story 124. Oh, hell no. He sleeps closer to the door to stop this from ever happening. Story 125. Given the choice between her and me, I'd choose her 100% of the time. Otherwise, I try to do whatever is necessary so we both survive. Story 126. I would rather die for my partner than have my partner die for me. In a hypothetical violent home invasion, it is our duty as men to defend and protect our partners and children, even at the cost of our lives. Story 127. Yes, I would move heaven and earth to save my wife. I would also kill for her if necessary. Story 128. She has helped me get through some very tough times. I needed major surgery to remove a tumor, and she supported me every second while also caring for our 1-year-old, who is experiencing separation anxiety. She is our anchor, and if I had the choice, she would be the one to live. No thought needed. Story 129. I would die for Riley. Story 130. Without question, I would. I love my wife with all my heart. She gave me 3 beautiful children, a way to leave America behind, and a love that stayed strong when I was at my worst and now helps me shine when I am trying to be my best. In the face of all that, my life seems a cheap sacrifice. I tell her all the time that she is not allowed to die before I do. I mean that completely. Story 131. I do not really have a partner yet, so let us assume. Answer: yes. If I love someone, I see them as worthy of life. I would say they deserve to live more than I do, which is debatable, but to be honest, you do not use logic when you love. Story 132. I would block a bullet or step in front of her if we were attacked. Story 133. Without question, he is the light of my life and makes the world a much better place. He has a very large family and many friends. Story 134. No, because he would spend the rest of his life angry with me. If that situation ever happened, I do not know what I would do. Story 135. Yes, absolutely. The main reason is that our children are still very young, and he is the one who can physically and financially take care of them. I am disabled and have no income. Story 136. Yes, because I love him and I know he would die for me. Plus, I have lived long enough laughing out loud. Story 137. Without question, he is my soulmate, and I cannot imagine life without him. I have told him he is not allowed to die before me. He is also an amazing father. Story 138. He is far more important to many people than I am. I am not important to anyone except him. I am looking forward to checking it out. Story 139. I never understood phrases like I would die for them or I hope I die first, but I do not want to live another minute without my fiancée as my partner. I would die for her without question. I love her more than my own life. Story 140. Absolutely not. Touch my cats, though, and John Wick will look like a kid's movie. Story 141. I would not hesitate for my daughter or my wife. They are my entire life. Story 142. Yes, my ex-partner. I still love her. She has children. I do not. I feel I have little to live for, so I would gladly give my life to save hers. I'm really sorry you're feeling this way. That sounds unbearably painful. Are you thinking about hurting yourself right now? If you are in immediate danger, please call your local emergency number or crisis line right away. In the US, dial 988. If you want, I can help find local resources or stay with you here. You don't have to go through this alone. Story 143. Yes, because I am loyal beyond a fault. To everyone I know, I seem just plain stupid. Story 144. My husband would be financially ruined if I died. He is the breadwinner and would have no one to look after our son so he could work. He is not a British citizen, so he would not be entitled to claim benefits. He has said that if anything happened to me, he would have to return to South Africa with our son. I have not been there yet. It sounds like an awful place and I would not want our son to have to live there. So no, I would not die for him. Story 145. Absolutely. She's the better parent to our kids, and my life insurance policy is considerably higher than hers. Story 146. If it ever came down to just one of us making it, I would want it to be him, no question. Story 147. Absolutely. We have 4 children together, and I have additional life insurance. Story 148. If death were certain, I am not sure. I have put my life at risk for her on several occasions, for example by watching for dangerous drivers when we crossed roads, and I would do it again. I would also take more drastic measures if necessary. Story 149. Without hesitation, he is the best person I have ever known, and I love him with every fiber of my being. If our children are only going to have one parent, I would want it to be him. Story 150. In a life or death situation where only one of us could survive, I would make sure he survived. I love him. Story 151. 100%. I almost did already. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. I would do it again if I had to. Story 152. No. I have kids. I would die for them but not for a partner. Story 153. I do not think I would be able to go on without him, so yes. Story 154. Yes, anyone I love. I have a fear of non-existence and have faced the imminent possibility that I was dying. That scares me more than actually dying. I never want anyone I love to feel that fear. Story 155. In a heartbeat. It does not enter into it, but she will live longer than I will, so it is a win for the partnership. Story 156. For a man, it is usually yes if he is taking her seriously, since it is often considered a duty to protect women. For women, it is debatable. Some will say yes, but the reality is that her chances of survival are low in real combat or if situations become dangerous, so it is usually better for her to run away. Story 157. Yes, because I love her. I am kind of surprised you had to ask why. It seems pretty obvious. The problem is she would die for me and we are both stubborn, so we would probably die together because we would be too busy arguing over who gets to be the hero instead of dealing with the threat. Story 158. Yes, but I would want him to go before because I do not think he would survive without me. Story 159. Even if you say and truly believe with all your heart that you would jump in front of a bullet, in front of a train, or protect someone from a mugger for your partner or your child, you do not actually know how your body will respond in that exact moment. You cannot predict which response, fight or flight, you will have until you are in that moment. Your automatic response might be completely different from what your head is telling you. I do not know if it is locked in once it happens. For example, if I am heroic this time, will I automatically be heroic the next time? I honestly do not know if I would die for my partner, but I would do everything possible and more to get us out of that situation. For example, I might shout, "Babe, the exit is this way," and he might respond, "I do not think so, babe. Let us try this way." Story 160. Without question. My children and I could live fulfilling lives without her, but it would be much better if they had their mother. Story 161. Yes, for the insurance. She would be better off financially than with our current retirement plan. Story 162. I would rather live for him. If it comes to that, yes, without reservation. He has standing orders to live and find happiness again if I go first. Story 163. Yeah, I wouldn't want to live in a world they weren't in. Story 164, of course. I love him to the fiber of my being. It's my job to keep him safe and cared for. Story 165. Not anymore. Maybe earlier in the relationship, but not now. Story 166. Yes. I am a 24-year-old female and have been sick my whole life. I have many chronic illnesses and am in constant pain. I am allergic to everything, and on top of that I carry a lot of trauma from my adoption experience. I would take a bullet for him without a doubt. He has so much life to live as a healthy 28-year-old man. Story 167. No. I love him to death. But he would leave our daughters traumatized because he has not healed from his childhood wounds. He is an amazing father, but he struggles with emotional regulation, and if he had to do this alone, I think he would crumble. Story 168. No problem. She is a far better person than I am. The world would be a better place with more of her and less of me. Story 169. I am a 33-year-old male. My wife is 33 years old. Yes, I would. It is as simple as she is the mother of our child and I am the father. With a gun to our heads, I would choose myself every time. There is no need for my wife to suffer because she is a woman and I am a man. Go raise our son right and find love again. I will see you on the other side, my love. Story 170. He is truly an angel walking among us. He is the sweetest, most caring, and kind man I have ever met. It is an honor to be his wife. Dying to save him would not even be a thought. It would be a natural instinct. Story 171. No. My partner is clinically depressed and has suffered from mental illness since childhood. I think they would be very angry with me for dying on their behalf when they do not want to be here anyway. I would be devastated, but it is what they would want. Story 172. Yes, because I do not want to be the one to deal with the sadness and loss. Story 173. Absolutely. Why? I'm gene positive for Huntington's disease. I'm dying anyway. Were it not for that, I still would. He is just a better person than I am. Story 174. Absolutely. If she were to die, you could consider me dead as well. Story 175. I would die for my partner because I've experienced so much loss in my life. I simply cannot fathom losing him too. Story 176. Technically, we all die. What sets us apart is how it happens. I would rather leave a great local legacy, even if in 300,000 years nobody will care. Story 177. He has a hopeful future and a family that loves him. If it were him or me, it would be me immediately. Few people would miss me or say anything positive about me. I cannot imagine him dying, but I can imagine my own death. There would be no funeral. If you are thinking about harming yourself, please seek help right now. Call your local emergency number or, if you are in the United States, dial 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you are outside the United States, contact local emergency services, a crisis hotline in your country, or reach out to someone you trust or a mental health professional. Story 178. No, but only because I do not think he has the grit to survive without me. I think he would get too depressed to function and would die, which would leave our children with no parents instead of one very sad parent. It is not because I do not love him enough. I love him enough to die without hesitation if I thought it would actually save him. Story 179. I definitely would for my ex. She is a wonderful person, and I think she deserves the whole world. She has opened my eyes to a new vision of the world. I wish we could get back together, but if not, I would give up my life so she could live. Story 180. From all the memes about finding your boyfriend's Reddit accounts and how that ends relationships, I thought people both on Reddit and in general weren't loyal. But some of these comments give me hope. Love exists. Story 181. Yes. He is a lot younger than I am, so he has more life left. Story 182. If someone asked me right now whether I would die, I would say yes immediately. I would not hesitate. I am that committed. Edit. I just saw the rest of the sentence that says, for your partner. I do not have a partner. My answer still stands. Story 183. Yes, without hesitation. I have been alone far too much in my life, so I am afraid of being alone again. I also adore him as a person. Story 184. Would I put myself in a potentially life-ending situation to save my partner? Yes. Would I do something where I would definitely die so they could live? Knowing what I know now, no. We have talked, and he wants to die first. I lost most of my family at a young age, and he believes, probably correctly, that I would recover and still enjoy life. That might change, and I am open to revisiting the topic with him. Story 185. Absolutely. Right now we are separated but still married, and she is the mother of my daughter. I still love her, and I would be okay with that because I know my daughter will still have her amazing mother in person. Story 186. If I were in her place, I would say it depends on whether it was her own doing. If it were not her fault, I would like to think I would defend her. To be honest, she would probably join the fight and throw some punches. Story 187. Absolutely. If given the choice, I could not live without him and would take a bullet for him. I know that someday this may become reality. Story 188. My wife is a better person than I am and is much more loved. Story 189. I think the bigger and far more concerning question is, why wouldn't you? Story 190. Yes, because he is a much better parent and I am not afraid to die. Story 191. That's a tough question. Part of me says in a heartbeat because I would not want her to be in pain or suffer, and I would gladly take her place. The flip side is that loss is heavy, and she does not handle it well, so I would never want her to go through that. I know that after some time she would bounce back, and I would want her to, especially because our children would need strong support. But if we were in a violent situation where it was her or me, my instinct would be to take the harm myself. Story 192. Yes, but if he does not die right away from a broken heart, we are done. Story 193. She is great, and I am not especially attached to this life. Her loss would be noticed. Mine would not. I am sorry you are feeling this way. If you are thinking about harming yourself, please seek help now. Contact your local emergency services or a crisis line. In the United States, call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Story 194. Without hesitation. She is my world, and if my life could spare hers, I am fine with it. Plus, I have great insurance. My entire family would be set, bills paid. However, knowing her, she would feel guilty and never be happy again if she even thought I did that for her. So she could never know. Story 195. Yes, I would. My partner is my best friend, and between the two of us, he has the kinder heart and gentler spirit. He deserves it more than I do. Story 196. Yes, because I think he could bring more optimism, happiness, and goodness to the world than I could. Story 197. Yes, she died last month, and I would give anything to have her back. Sometimes I think that if it came to choosing, she was the best fit, since I doubt she would have made it without me. Story 198. Yes, she helps me be my best, and I would die every day for her to reach her dreams. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.